welcome to the Serpent Temple podcast. I'm here with Paul Nazarkardeh from Profundis.
It's so refreshing hearing that pronounced properly. That's a first.
It's a pleasure to be able to finally... It's a good pronounceable name, like...
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's completely phonetic, right? There's nothing silent. It's like a black metal. It's like a black metal band.
If people can pronounce, like, Anaal Nathrakh, they
Absolutely.
can pronounce Paul Nazarkardeh.
Exactly.
Yeah, you heard it.
That's what I tell them. That's what I tell them. But still.
What's the funniest mispronunciation you've had?
So we're going way back. When I was a wee nipper, I won a football trophy at school, believe it or not, and I got my certificate which said Paul Nathaniel.
They were like, that's got to be a typo on the birth certificate. There's no way.
The good old days.
Back when it was okay. Yeah.
Before it got such a bad reputation. Old school racism.
Yeah, back when it was just at school, the racism. But let's go on to the Psycard reading. I'm going to do 3 cards for you, past, present, future. I'll read out each symbol that you get, and you can tell me what you think. So do you want to take the first card?
On the top.
Do it.
Whoa. The Tower.
The Tower. I'm going to read you the Tower. That's like the hardest card.
Good start.
It's the most mysterious, which is apt, given the meaning of your band name. I promised I wouldn't bring it up, but I'm gonna. So the Tower, a castle stands on a hillside without a moat or a visible door. Proud, stern, and unyielding, the symbol represents achievement gained in the face of adversity and reflects sometimes the arrogant conscious mind repressing the unconscious mind beneath it. It can often presage the pride that goes before a fall. It can also stand for male sexuality.
Bit of column A, bit of column B.
And there's definitely a column involved. Sorry.
Very good. How do I follow that? So, I guess that's... I think that every musician, whether they want to say so or not, has a certain arrogance behind them. I think that some are maybe better at controlling that, better at keeping it in check, better at being normal about it. But all of us who are, going out and like performing and expressing ourselves in this kind of way, I mean, it's by nature there is a certain, I don't want to use the term narcissism, but I mean, we've both met musicians and we know that applies.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's. So sorry. There was the arrogance within. There was the male sexuality. There was something I missed at the start of that.
It was like the relationship between the unconscious and the conscious mind.
And the adversity.
Yeah,
as well.
that too.
And I guess that we've been. I was thinking about this, and when we released the new album, Corruption of Virtue, a couple of months ago, the reaction was really good. But one of the things that we kept seeing a lot was the word veteran, like veteran death metal out for Profundis, veteran. And that's one of those things that it's nice, but it's a bit like being called venerable. Is that it's
like being
good.
Called old.
It's being called old, and it's like I hear that, and it's like, well, yeah, we've been doing it a long time, but also, yeah, we've been doing it a long time. And there's been so much weird kind of stories, weird sorts of adversities, just dumb stuff happening. As I think that every musician watches Spinal Tap and sees a bit of themselves in it. And for every for example, this is the first show we've done in a year, the second show that we've done since the COVID lockdowns, and I'm super excited about it. Psy are a huge influence on me as a musician. It's a really big one. But then for every one of those, you have one of the time that we drove to Madrid in a camper van. Got there was a Toys R Us drum kit and one person there. Or the time that we went to Luxembourg, our car broke down on the way. We rented a car from some random town in Belgium. We got to the venue, and the venue was upstairs. The show was upstairs. Downstairs was a strip club, and we couldn't really compete. We tried our best, but we can only bring so much to the table.
You could have collabed.
We could. Black Magic Mike.
That's actually a really good concept.
There we go. That's the.
Yeah.
Well, whoever watches, that's the new like Z Leonardo kind of crazy crossover. I guess Manowar kind of did it already, but
They did.
but maybe maybe
not
updated.
Not in 2022, but
Yeah, there's too much baggage there.
that's one way to put it. Baggage. Do you want to go to the
Yeah,
present?
sure. I keep doing upside down. Fortune.
Fortune. What number is that?
12.
Nice. Fortune is good. It's a good thing to have in the present. Let me turn the pages of this book, which I can do. Number 12. A seeker, lantern in hand, is shown ascending a winding staircase leading up to a garret where a treasure chest is waiting. The card signifies the quest ending in fulfillment. It stands for success achieved by good luck, persistence, and an increase in wealth.
That would be handy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess now is an interesting time because, of course, for the last two or so years, obviously, I mean, it sucked for everybody, and it was always going to. And even last year things started to come back slowly, but it was still very much testing the waters, right? No, it didn't feel through that. It was like, oh, we can kind of do this again, but not as it's kind of come to form now. And to be honest, coming into 2022, I was completely tapped out of it. I was like, what's the point? Is this a thing? Is this a thing I used to do, or is this a thing I am doing? And I think that especially bands who aren't of a certain stature, they're organic beings, right? You have to feed them, you have to water them, and if they don't, they stagnate. They wither and they stop being. And just about a year ago, one of my other bands, Formicarius, we called it a day, and that was after basically being a band for like my entire adult life. Before that, technically, so it was like 17, and I'm 31 now, so crazy long time. But then. Now things are, it's in a way that I kind of stopped expecting. Stuff has started to claw back, and even it wasn't just COVID for me. The big thing was like Brexit and the effect that's going to have on touring bands. I'm playing with other projects as well as the Profundis, such as I play bass in a band called Monument of Misanthropy, and we've been able to kind of get out there and start to do a lot. The Profundis, we've been getting the album out because we essentially thought, what's the point of releasing during COVID? Yeah. What's the point of we can't we want to go out and perform these songs. We don't want to release it, and then like it's 2 years gone after the release that we're actually playing them, because we wrote everything just before 2020, just before this all kicked off. And I remember finishing my rhythm guitar parts the day the lockdowns happened. Fuck. Yeah. I work in a school when I'm not doing music, and I remember that as it was closing, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're done. You're not coming back in tomorrow. We're done." And I was like, I need to go to our studio and record that album, like right now. I don't have time. I better speed run this last track and a half. So yeah, obviously it's been a very kind of big sort of thing coming out of that, but at the same time, it's almost like a bit of a trope, but I don't personally feel like the same person coming out of all this as I felt going into it. Like it was playing metal, doing this had a different role in my life than it is now. It's just little things, but just when you're away from this for that long, you discover things in your life that you also enjoy, and you realize that it doesn't define you as much as you might have felt it is before, because you can't, right? And so coming out of this now, and that was another thing. At first I was like thinking, finding my feet in this again, like what is this going to be now? What is it going to be the same? Is it how am I going to feel about it? And it's great to be back. It's really good. I feel that still it does feel different, not in a bad way. It almost feels a little bit more sincere now, just because it's a little bit less like you have to do it, you want to do it. And I guess in some ways, I really hate saying that, there's a bright side over the last couple of years, but it's something, I
get you.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were in the tower, you examined the relationship that you had with your bands, with your art, and then you climbed that staircase.
Yeah, instead of jumping off and going for the defenestration of Paul, I went even higher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
Which is good, because I'm scared of heights.
Well, fortune favours the brave, and you were brave. So good on you, man. Do you want to see what the future holds?
Don't be deaf. Prison close enough.
Well, hey, sounds like you're going to have some fun.
Pride before a fall, right?
Oh my God. Maybe it's a good kind of prison?
Which would that be?
I don't know. Maybe it's like the whole black magic pole dancing prison.
Is this like a confession thing? Is it going to be like, forgive me, Nina, for I have sinned? Like...
I don't have that kind of power. Or if I do, I'm not aware of it. I'll read you prison. A manacled prisoner languishes behind bars, but the sunlight floods into the cell. The card stands for those situations where we are seemingly trapped, where the key is turned on us and we have no freedom of action. Emphasis on seemingly.
Seemingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess in some ways that, I mean, kind of slightly ties into kind of what I was saying before, right? Like, looking back of how my relationship to this was once before, it was kind of, in some ways, you know, you're tied to it. And I think that, you know, for you do this as well. There are sacrifices you make for doing this weird thing, being involved in this kind of crazy subculture. There's a lot of kind of, not as much as, you know, once upon a time, but there are still people who just will never get it. There are, there are people who just will kind of take a judgmental kind of thing on that. And I think that you are, it's a battle. It always is. And, you know, still coming back from this, I'm trying not to get involved in getting like frustrated at the same kind of stuff that you do, because, you know, one of my pet hates is like musicians complaining on social media about, oh, we haven't done this, we haven't done that, we should have this because we feel that we're great. And that's one thing that's really frustrating, something that I always try to avoid. But at the same time, I do see why people feel that way. I do see, and again, going back to that sort of slightly arrogant side of people who are in art, I see why they would feel that way, right? Like, it's, and I think that's something that, because they are kind of locked in it. Like, it's one of these, I think about looking at so many bands who are doing their umpteenth farewell tour. I think Kiss just announced one recently, and, you know, Ozzy's on No More Tours 3, Motley Crue with however many of them aren't showing up there next time. In some cases, Vince Neil probably for the best, and there is a certain prison. There is, you know, you're locked to it. Like, there's a big part of them which clearly wants to do it, and there's a big part of them that doesn't. And, you know, and one thing I started to think a lot in the last kind of year after all this is, as I've said, I've been involved in all this since I was a teenager, and I've been thinking, like, okay, so if you've been doing this for like 15 years, are you going to be doing it in another 15 years? And my gut instinct is no, I won't. Not doing like Mel, not doing things the same way. But I say that, but probably in, well, my maths is terrible, 2037, I'm going to be in whatever, like, inferno hell world we're at, saying, oh, you know what, I don't think I'm going to be doing this for another 15 years after that.
Yeah.
There's that kind of balance of a part of you is, I guess it's like a sort of a dysfunctional marriage to music in a certain way. And I remember a couple of years before he died, watching Chuck Berry perform, and he was, you know, pushing his 80s at this point, and it was not good. It looked like just an old guy who shouldn't be doing it anymore. He should be enjoying his retirement. He should be just doing whatever old ex-rock and roll guys do, but instead he wasn't. He was playing very badly on stage, and I think that we all need to be a little bit wary of that. And again, making it count, doing things because you want to, not because you feel some duty. None of us are getting getting paid enough to feel duty bound. You can kind of understand why they wheel out Ozzy to do it again. It's an industry. There are people who, if they actually decide no more tours, people lose their jobs. People are. It's very different. But at the same time, there are people who clearly, I think, one great one is Rob Halford, because I watch and Judas Priest in general. I watch them, and I feel that they could be doing it in another decade, you know?
Yeah,
like
they
they look after themselves, but they clearly really want to do it. Like Halford especially, he is clearly so devoted to this corner of the world. Or another one is actually, like, even though Twisted Sister had done, Dee Snider.
Yeah.
I remember watching them a couple of years ago and thinking, that's not really going to be my thing. And I just watched the show and I came out of it just like ear to ear, like, this was amazing. Because it's just such an energy. It doesn't feel like it's just playing out that last, getting that paycheck in. It feels like, it doesn't feel like a prison for him. It feels like home. And then there are other artists where it feels like it does, and not just those who've been there for a long time, but I think that some of the people who aren't getting any joy out of it are only kind of thinking about what enrages them about it. Maybe it's okay to stop, or it's okay to take a break. It's okay to go away. I kind of enjoyed being away from it in a way. I can't say that. There are things that I've done in life since COVID when I had to essentially stop doing this, which I liked. I was happy not doing it.
Sometimes you just need to take a break.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's just, like I said, there's a whole world out there, and life's too short just to be bitter about what could have been, or why everyone is into this and not in that. It's why not, right? You gotta live a little. Gotta have fun.
I remember reading once, someone said art is knowing when to stop. And that's definitely this when it comes to writing, when it comes to an album, when it comes to releasing an album, and all aspects of being a creative, I think, is knowing when you got to just be like, okay, I stop here. And there's like a power to that sometimes.
I mean, I think a great example of that is Bolt Thrower.
My God, yes, such a good example.
They just went, you know what, we think this is amazing, this album is a perfect example of who we are, and we don't think we can follow it.
And their drummer died.
Of course, absolutely.
But still, I respect that they didn't like hold on to the legacy of their name, and they just went and did their own thing.
But even before he died, they actually, because they were actually they were in the middle of writing a couple of years after those ones, right? And they just went, nah, it's not as good. Maybe we will do another one.
It's so hard to top yourself with your Bolt Thrower, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly.
I would probably do the same.
It's and I guess that's the thing, right? Because we've actually we've started writing the next album, the next Depro album. On one hand, I'm really excited about it. On the other, 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be thinking, okay, right, we've done this. This album came out. Then we have to get it out at this point. By this point, it needs to be. People need to be still hearing and then seeing us on the internet or whatever. And now I'm like, it's done when it's done. It's I'm really kind of motivated by it. I think it's sounding really cool. We're getting a bit weird with it. I guess in some ways, I think for the future, I think about Frank Reynolds, Danny DeVito's character in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he says, "I don't know how many years I got left, and I'm going to get real weird with it." And I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly. That. I think that's it's a good way to be, especially doing something like this. Again, maybe no Black Magic Mike. That will be for someone else. But
you never know.
I will accept a 10% cut on all the profits they get from that concept.
You need to trademark it immediately.
Exactly, and then we can call it at that. That'll be fine. That'll probably be my retirement sorted. We good. All fine.
Well, on that note, I think it's probably time that we stop.
Yes.
Yeah. No, you stop.
I don't know, I feel duty bound to do this for another 3 hours. At which point you'll see the cold, dead look in my eyes intensify. And then you'll go, thank you, Paul Nathaniel, now go away.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you.
Nathaniel/Nazarkardeh for coming on Serpent Temple. You have any final remarks?
This was such a fun interview to do. As I said before I started, so many kind of like band interviews I've done have been very much kind of the same. You can tell that there's like a copy pasted. What's your band called? What do you do this? Maybe there might be a context thing. Tell us about your new album. And you could frankly copy paste or just kind of say the same things. So it's so cool doing something which is actually kind of making, when I got those, I had to think. I was like, okay, so I'd see those descriptions. I was like, what? Okay, and like the cogs actually had to turn in my brain. So rather than actually having to, completely give myself a headache thinking how I'm going to answer this extremely mundane question. It's like, whoa, okay, so that's a bit like this, right? And that's so cool. I really, really wish more people did that. I wish that this was... I'm not saying everyone would be reading.
Everyone has to do
Psycards. But I don't know. Someone could, I don't know. They could bring out some Munchkin or play Warhammer 40k with me. That would be. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
Which army would you play?
I think that stylistically, if we were doing, I think what would best be represented for De Profundis by? I think that. Necrons, because veterans, very ancient, not doesn't seem to go away.
Nice, I dig that. Well, I think that's a beautiful point to end it. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
And everyone, you're probably already there, but follow Serpent Temple. They are good people. They do good things. I am not under duress. I'm being paid nothing to say that.
And also follow De Profundis, please. Again, likewise, no duress. Cheers for watching. Like and subscribe.
Would you rather bank transfer or cash?
Both is fine.
Cool.
Yeah.